Mindy, and I have a guest speaker here today, Olivia. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. And so you want to tell everybody what your topic is today?
Yes, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about hippotherapy and its use in pediatrics, and also how that relates to occupational therapy.
Oh, that's a great topic. How did you become interested in that?
Well, it was actually related to personal experience. So my sister is on the autism spectrum.
Okay.
And she was diagnosed about the age of 4.
Oh, wow. How old is she now?
She's turning 19
oh my gosh.
this
wow.
Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, I know. We're very excited.
Yeah.
So, when she was about, I want to say 7 or 8, 9, around that area, she did hippotherapy for about 2 years. And so I have the kind of snapshot memories of being I'm the older sister, so watching her, going with my parents, not understanding what was going on, but just having my mom say, no, this isn't just for fun, because I was jealous. I wanted to ride the horses. And Mom said, no, this is for your sister. Like, this is to help her, as much as you can explain that to a 10-year-old.
Exactly.
But I actually, as I was doing my research, I asked my mom, I said, you remember this better than I do. Like, what kind of benefits did you see for her?
Yeah.
And it was cool. A lot of the things she was talking about, I saw in research articles of other parents saying
the same things?
The improvements they found in their children.
Okay. How long did she do it?
2 years.
2 years. Okay.
So she had the same horse the whole time.
Okay.
So there was that consistency.
Yeah.
So she had her horse that she had every time. I think his name was George or something like that.
George, that's a great name.
She had her picture taken with her.
Oh, I love it.
Really
now,
sweet.
I know that some of the occupational therapy programs that I have, or the hippo programs that I've seen, like they have to brush the horse and then they have to put the saddle on. It was that one?
Yes.
Okay.
She did groom her horse.
Okay.
I'm not sure how, again, I don't remember all of the things, but I don't think she would have been super involved. She's a frail little 8-year-old, so I'm not sure how much she was actually saddling the horse, but I know she was being educated and directing how to take care of your horse, how you sit on your horse.
Okay.
All the things like that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, let me just ask you, you didn't know it back then, but now, when you were talking with your mom, did insurance approve that? Do you know?
I don't know that, actually.
Okay. Because, the reason why I ask is because at one point in time in my career, I had a hippo place by me, and they were like, I had contacted them for some reason. I can't remember what it was. Oh, I remember. I was trying to get them to let students come out. And they said, well, hey, you know what? Are you interested in being an OT for us? Because we're trying to get certified so we can take Medicaid and insurances and stuff like that. And I said, oh, okay. So I kind of discussed a little bit with them, and I ended up not deciding that. But I've heard since then that a lot of insurances are no longer paying for it.
Okay.
So it's like you have to pay out of pay cash. And I don't know how much it ranges as far as how much hippotherapy is, but maybe you can talk about that in some of your research that you found.
Yeah, I didn't. Most of what I was looking at like the efficacy and
Okay.
how it works. It has been shown to be a good intervention for different diagnoses.
Okay.
I didn't get to the part. That would be interesting, though. I'd be curious to know, because so when my sister did it, it would have been about a decade ago.
Oh, wow. Okay,
so,
yeah.
I'm not
well,
sure what
I just searched it, and it says can cost anywhere between $80 and $115 per session.
Okay.
A little bit expensive. So,
yeah,
it says some health insurance providers may cover it in whole or part. In some states like Florida, hippotherapy can be covered with Medicaid.
Okay.
And then it talks about equine assisted therapy, which I'm really not sure what is the difference between equine and hippo. But sessions can cost between $115 and $300 a session.
Oh my goodness.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is.
That's a big difference. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about kind of what you found in your research.
Yeah, so a little bit, there was a really nice article by the NIH kind of like overviewing all of it, so that was really helpful. So it kind of started as a discipline only in the 1960s, and it was in Europe first.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I think it was, I'm trying to remember, it was about Germany, Switzerland area, yeah, and then
was it who was doing it? Was it OTs, or was it like physical therapies, or somebody else, recreational therapist?
I wasn't able to get into a lot of the history of that, but
sorry.
No, you're fine. I wanted to look it up later. I didn't have time.
Forgot. Yeah. Okay, so I'm sorry I interrupted you. Keep going.
No worries. I just wanted to kind of talk about like a little bit of the basics of like how it's, because again, I don't remember because I was 10 and I was just like, sister gets to ride horses and I don't, and it was very unfair.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's really cool. So it's used pretty equally by occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy, which I didn't know.
I did not know that.
No, that's like almost every article I saw from children's hospitals included all three.
Wow.
So it was saying
that's pretty cool.
But so they all have different goals.
Yeah.
But they all use it for their specific goals.
Okay.
Which speech made sense because you have to be able to project and give commands to the horse. I remember that. Like there's physical cues you give to the horse by tugging on the reins, but there's also like walk on. I know that's one of them, and different commands. You have to be able to communicate with the person leading the horse. Because the child...
I never would have thought about that.
Yeah, so there are different ways you slip communication in there, so the child has to project. And I know my sister, she was never nonverbal, but she's very quiet for a long time. So actually, since she's been going to speech therapy, she's improved a lot, being able to express herself.
Okay,
that's one thing for her she would struggle with is not mumbling.
Yeah, my son mumbles all the time. Drives me nuts. He doesn't open his mouth big enough. It's very
so she's so much better, but no, when she was younger she was very quiet, very
demure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that made sense to me, but it's usually whatever therapist is leading the session, so whatever discipline that is, and then it's a riding instructor. So then you have the therapy expert, the horse expert, and between 1 or 2 riding aides. So there could be 2 to 4 adults. There is, but that's, I mean, for safety. So you're analyzing the horse just as much as you're analyzing the child. And are things safe? Like, is the movement therapeutic for the child? Is the child able to respond and react? Is the horse calm and providing that therapeutic experience instead of being a stressor?
Yeah. So would one discipline lead the session? Like, so, for example, today is OT and then PT join in? Or, like, how does that work?
I'm not
Do you get
sure
just
how,
one?
I don't know how co-treatments would work.
If it is co-treatment.
I don't know if it is co-treatment.
Yeah.
I just know that each discipline uses it for their own purposes.
Because, like, if you had an individual who has cerebral palsy, I could easily see it being used for all 3.
Yes.
Right? And so, like, I mean, if insurance doesn't pay for that, that's, potentially $300 out of pocket. That's a lot of money. So anyway, okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Just looking over my notes, and I've said pretty much most of it. That's the team is always looking out for both the horse and the child and make sure everyone's safe and calm. And when I looked up, so both occupational therapists and CODAs can be certified to do this, but you have to be certified.
You do have to be
certified. So
there's
the AHA is the American Hippotherapy Association, and they do the accreditation.
Oh, that's interesting because this place that I was telling you about didn't say anything about that. So that's interesting. I wonder if that's changed or something.
It might have, but that's what I looked up. The association has a list of the PTs and the OTs and the speech language pathologists that they have accredited. So you can see accredited facilities and also therapists.
And so do you know, I don't know if you looked it up, do you know how much it costs to get certified in that?
I do not. I know it's an online accreditation that looked similar to like continuing education that they have on AOTA that other professors have shown. I only looked a little bit at like the requirements that they have to learn just because it interests me, and you almost have to learn horse kinesiology to a degree.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So you have to have an understanding of how the horse moves as well as, again, the typical movement of the child.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
I know.
So almost like a vet kind of thing.
A little bit, yeah.
I'm looking up, there are a lot of places that actually do the certification.
Okay.
Equine assisted mental health practice certification, riding instructor and equine therapy certification programs. It doesn't say how much it costs. I'd definitely be interested to see. And that's interesting. So do you have to have your own horse in order?
No.
How does that work?
No. So it's the facility, at least, again, my experience with my sister is they had all their own horses. Like, it was I don't know what to call it. It wasn't a farm, but they had a lot of land, and they had multiple horses. And so
I'm talking about to get certified, though.
Oh, to get certified.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. There's different levels of certification, too.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because there's a mental health aspect, and then there's interactive vaulting instructor. Not sure exactly what that means.
I do not know either.
Therapeutic driving instructor. These are all related to equine. Master therapeutic riding instructor certification. Wow. Advanced therapeutic riding instructor. And a certified riding instructor. Okay, well, so we've got a lot of certifications out there. Don't know how much they cost, but there's a lot
of options.
So, how do you feel? Like, looking back, your sister obviously remembers it?
To a degree, yes.
Okay. So how do you feel, other than becoming a little bit more quiet, going from being quiet to not being quiet, how do you feel like it's helped her? And so let me just tell the audience that you are in OTA school. You are in your first semester, and thinking about what you've learned to date, how can you explain to our audience what they would be working on from an occupational therapy standpoint?
From an occupational therapy standpoint, I think with my sister, and I'm saying this more from what my mother has told me, because I think she remembers better than any of us.
Yes, of course.
But what she told me is one of the biggest things was it was something that gave her confidence, and it was her thing. Okay. It was her thing that she could enjoy and exceed in.
So sister didn't have anything.
Yeah, sister didn't have anything to do. Sister came to watch.
That's right.
But no, it was something that improved her self-confidence and her self-efficacy, which was like a big thing. Like, I can do this, and I'm doing really well. So she noticed a boost in my sister's confidence, and then.
I would think that, being in charge of a huge animal, 1,000 pounds, I don't know how much horses weigh, but I would think that would, because you're doing the grooming aspect, you're giving it command. Horses can sense when you're fearful and that kind of stuff, and obviously they go through a very rigorous selection process for the individuals who are the horses that they're choosing for it. But totally lost my train of thought as to where I was going with that. But you know, I would think that definitely would give them confidence. But what else do you feel like that they could gain from the equine therapy?
Children in general?
Yeah, children in general.
So there's a lot of different things, and again, they touched briefly on like the speech and the physical therapy, but and again, I didn't know all of this, so I thought it was fascinating. But essentially, equine therapy is an intervention for this, because a lot of the diagnoses that I noticed over and over again being treated, so autism spectrum disorder, cerebral palsy,
yeah,
there were more. I had a train of thought and then I lost it.
Yeah.
All right, traumatic brain injuries, sensory processing disorders,
big
for
time.
sure. Developmental delays, multiple sclerosis was another one. And a lot of these disorders can have symptoms dealing with dyspraxia, balance, motor coordination, and motor planning. And so when you're on the horse, you have to kind of, that is a big practice in balance, making minor adjustments to your core.
Exactly.
Vestibular and proprioceptive were big ones I saw too, like knowing
where your body is,
and where your head is in space.
And writing reactions.
Yes,
definitely
help. For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But the kind of the science behind like why hippotherapy is because horse walking gait is similar to the human, like the way the human pelvic area moves. Yeah, so the back and forth. So, and it's also very rhythmic. So when you have the horse walking, it's very rhythmic, consistent stimulation that your body is getting, and that can improve like neuromuscular like connections.
With help with the CP and the multiple sclerosis. Yeah.
So kind of improving like how those messages go from the muscles and the tactile receptors to the brain
and back.
And and so it was something. I found it so interesting, and now I'm like, where did I put it?
Well, and I think that I know that horses in my area are also being used with veterans from the mental health aspect of it. And I believe it's Ranch Hands Rescue, I think is the name of it. And it's a pretty big organization that deals with the mental health aspect of individuals coming back from war, traumatic brain injury, PTSD, loss of limbs, all of that kind of stuff. It kind of is helping them like reconnect, because those animals aren't judging. They're not, they don't make any assumptions about you, and I don't know exactly what all is involved in it other than that. I have seen a couple of stories on TV about it. But I think that anything, animals are pure, right? And so they don't care whether you're rich or you're poor, if you're in a good mood, you're a bad mood. Like, they have this connection with us that, like, even loved ones don't have the same connection. Physiologically speaking, our bodies are different when we're around animals, so just as a whole. So it kind of makes sense from the mental health aspect, but also from a neurological aspect, it makes sense. Did you find what you were looking for?
I don't know if I put it in. That's because I read these articles and then I wrote notes, and then I didn't write notes on everything, so that's why it's frustrating. But it was something to the effect of the stimulation that the client gets, like kind of in the pelvic area, is more than they would get just walking while they're on the horse.
Really? Because it's the bouncing on the saddle, and the balance in space, and the proprioception. And I would say, I mean, that they're led, though, by an individual, right?
Yes,
so
but
they're not...
There is a degree of where, again, there's, they're having the children, again, learn how to direct so the child isn't completely controlling the horse, but there is a degree where, all right, we're going to show Betsy, the horse, how to turn to the left, and now we're going to take the reins and pull them this way, so that's crossing midline.
Yeah.
And there's also multiple times I saw in research, like, they're working on problem solving. Oh no, there's a log. Can we, Betsy doesn't really want to walk over it. It's nothing jumping, nothing
about that.
crazy, but okay, can we get Betsy to just walk all over this log? She can do it. It's small, but so in a way, they also have to help the horse sometimes.
Yeah.
So working on that problem solving and also,
I didn't think about
what
that.
do I do now?
In grasp, definitely grasp.
Oh, for sure.
Strength, overall strength, endurance, all of these kind of things are things that would definitely work on, for sure. I find that really interesting. I'm really sad that more insurance doesn't pay for that. Is this something that maybe you would like to look into in the future? Maybe getting certified in?
It could be. That feels so far down the road at this point.
It will be here before you know it.
I'm sure it will. But that is something I think, looking on its face, not having that experience from a therapeutic standpoint, but just kind of as a bystander, I think it would be really cool. One of the other things that I remember very briefly, and something I saw briefly, is like you'd also just do interventions while on the horse. So there was one study where it was showing, this was on the American Journal of Occupational Therapy, but they were just two children were on a horse, were each on a horse, stationary. They were trying to toss balls back and forth.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So they're not even necessarily riding, but you're on a horse and you're doing some sort of intervention. So they add to that as well. Like
so they make it easier, harder. Yeah, great upgrade.
And again, there's always therapists and other trained adults around. Like you're never leaving anyone on a horse. You're never leaving the horse. But I thought I was looking for something to that effect, because a lot of articles I was reading was just the kind of the basics of why the horseback riding is therapeutic, and I'm thinking in my mind, because again I'm trying to remember back to when I was 10. I was like, I know they did things with like maybe bean bags or flags or I know there were games, so it's not just riding, but there are different games you can do. And in kind of back to just the horseback riding itself, I've ridden horses before, and getting on and off
is very challenging.
It's very challenging for me as a typical person. So you have to practice that just awareness of your body. Where's my left leg going? Where's my right leg going? Because if I don't know, I'm gonna slide into the therapist's arms because I'm gonna
fall back.
Yeah.
Well, and I know a lot of them. I used to have another riding center that was right by me, and they had these steps. So they stepped up the steps, and then they were able to get on the horse. There would be steps on either side. The horse would rock straight up the middle, and then people on both sides, so they would help guide the individuals over. I'm interested in your input of, how many, if there is evidence-based for this type of intervention, why do you feel that more insurances are not covering it?
On its face, it could honestly be like horseback riding is such a leisurely thing, I think, to our culture. We're very industrialized. And I think horseback riding in our minds is like a pastime or a thing you do on vacation, or I could see how it could be seen as like an extra thing, an extra fun thing, which I think I remember seeing one of it was one of the children's hospitals. The articles was like, this is not horseback riding lessons. Okay. That's not what we do. This is therapy for children who are in need of therapeutic interventions.
Were you able to find a lot of evidence-based articles out there on it?
I was able to find quite a few. I didn't cite them all because some of them were older, which made me mad because some of them were really good, but I was like, it's from 2003. I don't know if I should put that in.
Yeah. You know, you definitely don't want to do something that's too old. But at the same time, you know, I'm really interested as to, you know, because we are OTs, we are evidence-based, and everything has to go back to evidence. And if there's a lot of articles, quite a few articles out there that state that it is good and beneficial to individuals, why, you know, why are the AHA, American Horse Association, I guess, why are they not promoting it more? Why are OTs not promoting it more? You know, like, why is this not being pushed out there more, do you think?
I don't know. And I'm going to speak from my personal experience. Like, when it was first, I believe it was first talked about, like, in class by another professor. And she was talking about different fieldwork sites we could possibly go on. And hippotherapy came up. And I hadn't thought about it in quite some time. I was like, oh, we do that? That's so cool. And it felt novel. And I don't know if that's how other people feel. It's like a novel thing, or like it's not standard.
Some people are scared of horses. So.
That's also fair. It's actually one of the things I was researching was like precautions to keep in mind if like considering hippotherapy, and one of them was if a child has any history of animal abuse. Yeah. Or also just allergies. I kept seeing that again and again and again.
Think about allergies.
Allergies.
Yeah. So allergies to horses?
Yeah. Or I mean, you're outside, so hay or grass.
But, I mean, grass. You can't avoid grass. You gotta have grass no matter where you are. But it's interesting. Well, you know, I definitely think that. You know, I think that there are pluses and minuses for every type of therapy that's out there. I think that it depends on, you know, what your situation is.
Yes.
As to what would be beneficial. Why did your sister stop? Do you know?
I don't know. That's an excellent question. I mean, I don't know the answer to that question. I should ask my mother when I get home.
You should definitely ask and see why they quit.
Think about that.
Yeah, I mean,
there may have been a limit. She may have aged out. Possibly. I don't.
How old was she though?
She was 8, so she would only be 10. So it could be either
probably insurance or something, maybe.
Possibly, but I don't have the answer for that.
Yeah, you know, because I've seen a lot older kids, and you know, like I said, soldiers coming back. You know, I definitely think it's you know, occupational therapy is expanding more and more to different areas. And, you know, the mental health aspect is really huge. And I think that, you know, if the government could pass the law that says that, you know, they want more OTs and mental health, but you need to pay them more in order to do that. If they increase the pay or do something to compensate, you know, maybe that could be something that they could, you know, invest in and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, but I definitely think it's for a specific population, not for everybody, for sure.
No, for sure. Some of the AHA was actually very kind of explicit about that. They're like these are some things that would definitely be more problematic. So it would be like recent surgeries or skin conditions, like that's not happening. Or if any child might have uncontrolled seizures, that would be very dangerous.
Very
or
dangerous.
joint instability if you have unstable joints. So they kind of laid this out, and they're like, this is not like
for them.
I could see how they're like if a child is has a certain like if they're kind of delicate, if they have more fragile health, I can see how it would be a little too risky to not a good fit,
not to do. But, well, it's definitely an interesting topic. I definitely think that's, you know, if that's something that you're interested in, you should look into that.
It could be. That'd be fun.
Yeah. You know, I think that at the end of the day, it all boils down to money.
Unfortunately,
you know, that's how the world revolves and goes around, and if you don't have anybody paying for it, it's not going to happen. So, and you know, and I think that our community, our area geographically is getting eaten up by other people, or you know, people moving here. And so we're definitely very limited in space too. So I think that's definitely another issue that we would have. But do you have anything else you'd like to talk about on this topic?
You kind of hit most of it. I mean, talking about kind of what it is and why horses and
yeah. Okay. Awesome.
So.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming and talking to our audience about it.